They're basically for the same thing, and it tends to be for this person who is not an earth incarnate, who has come from somewhere else. And there are other words too. Oh my God, like earth angels and air angels and water angels. And, like I believe there's some connection to mermaids also, which would make sense for me because I've had lots of mermaid experiences in my life. But it definitely inevitably leads you down that path where you end up looking into all this stuff because it's all so connected, and the thing that gelled the most for me was the indigo information. And while I may not be completely psychic and the way that newborns and young children are, who are obviously indigos now, I have always shown signs of my indigo-ness. I've always rebelled against authority. I've always had the attitude of, even as a child, I remember having the attitude of, well, I'm going to do what I want to do, and if you can't handle it, it's your problem, it's not mine. And I still am that way. I mean, granted, on this program, you're not getting, I don't like the word program because it denotes me trying to program you, and I'm not. On this show, because I'm trying to show you, on this show, you're seeing a certain side of me. You see the giggly, joyful, introspective, I guess, side of me. And that's part of what I'd like to put across most of all. But there's another part of me. There's one that's crude and aggressive and maybe not totally aggressive in a horrible way, but I would never step over anybody to get something that I want. That's not important to me. If I'm meant to have it, I'm going to have it anyway. But I'm a total shit disturber. So, not that I like to rock the boat, because I actually don't. I like everybody getting along and having a good time, but I like to tease people and make fun, and I do all of it in jest. It's all in love. There's, if I was really serious about making fun of somebody, I actually wouldn't say any of it to their face. Does that make sense? But if I call you a dumbass to your face, it's because I love you. That's just the environment that I've grown up in. So, I've had a very incredibly open relationship with both my parents and with my sister. So, we were always still incredibly expressive about the way we feel. And I haven't yet shown all that, and maybe you'll see all those sides of me, but, I certainly tie in very well with the idea of the indigo child or the indigo person. Rebels against authority, slightly psychic, and the children that are coming in now are getting more and more psychic as it goes on. Always asking questions, very curious, always ripping things apart. When I was a kid, I was constantly breaking stuff, but I was also, I remember my dad gave me this music box and I would constantly take the music box apart to see how it would work. And I would put it all back together again. And then I would take it apart and then I would put it all back together and it would work. Like I would put it back together properly. So, this is what I'm talking about when I say that, children are really amazing and we can learn from children much more than what children can learn from us. Because unfortunately we have been so indoctrinated, so sucked into the system, that we can't see straight. Our minds aren't open. The adult mind is not open the way a child's mind is open, because the child has not yet been so influenced by politics, pick red or blue, or religion, believe in this, or, and be good, or you go to hell. This fictional place that we've suddenly made up because we want more control over you. In our school systems, we are taught false history, and throughout the years, that indoctrinates the child into thinking a certain way. We live in such a world where a person who is completely qualified for something based upon his or her experience can't get a particular job or a career vocation that they really, really, really want to do because it would save the world or whatever else, just because they don't have a piece of paper. This is entirely messed up to me. But as a child grows up into the education, quote unquote, education, Because if you ask me, it does nothing but de-educate. As a child goes through this, they become accustomed and they become indoctrined into, what society wants, and I got into this a couple weeks ago with a friend of mine who had posted something on Facebook that was saying about that mothers should be questioning, why all of a sudden Dora the Explorer has like long hair and is wearing ballerina outfits and all this other stuff, because they're selling now like a ballerina princess Dora the Explorer or something like that. And if you look into any of, Freeman is really fabulous. And I don't mean Freeman on the Land, and he's really fabulous too. But they're two separate guys, Freeman on the Land and Freeman. Freeman usually goes by Freeman Fly sometimes. So his stuff is really amazing because he talks about the princess and warrior programming that our children are put through in order to become something that society wants them to become. And, little girls are given these little pink dolls. Everything is pink. It's all about putting on lipstick and putting on all this makeup and making the hair all pretty and wearing pretty clothes. It's all about that. Or, all of the things that come with, say Barbie, for example. She has a dream house and she has a dream car, so it can't be more blatant than that, and the same goes for the little boys who get nothing but, army figurines and, warriors and all this other stuff. And it's that princess warrior programming. And I highly recommend, because I am in no way an expert on this, I highly recommend looking into Freeman's work. If you go to freemantv.com or the freemanperspective.blogspot.com, you could probably just search for the words princess programming or programming of any kind or warrior programming, and that will give you a lot of a bevy of information, because I'm not the person to turn to for this, but I definitely see what's so important in that. And the same that's going on, and then also you have it happening with the children throughout the uneducation system, where let's look at the correlations between school, going to a mainstream school, and working a slave wage 9-to-5 job. School is virtually an 8-hour thing. Every day, Monday to Friday, obviously every day except for Saturday and Sunday. You get summers off. This is the only thing that's really different between school and the wage slavery 9-to-5 job, right? Is that, unless you're a teacher, of course. And then you do get summers off too. Children are obviously put through this 8-hour thing with a break for lunch and 2 15-minute breaks, one at the beginning of the day, one at the end of the day, to get them ready for wage slavery. And it's really incredible the amount of people that still don't see this. And this is what shows like this are here for. And all of the incredible groups that are out there, and people, David Icke, Project Camelot and Project Avalon, Freeman. Oh God, there's so many. David Wilcock, the exopolitics arena, all of these people who are trying to look outside the box, because the box in which we have been confined is suffocating us. And it almost seems like some people relish the suffocation. This makes no sense to me, and it never has. So basically, I guess this episode is to kind of get into a little more of my backstory and how I am where I am, because I have usually seen through the veil. There were very short moments throughout my life where I fell for the system and society's idea, and idea of what is quote unquote good, or what is quote unquote best, or what is quote unquote attractive, or whatever else. There have been moments in my life where money, for example, I have never done the wage slave 9-to-5 thing. I've been doing music professionally since I was 11 years old, and I mentioned this in another show. I worked in Los Angeles for 7 years off and on, so I would go there for a couple of months and I would come back here, and I would go there and I would come back here, and it would constantly back and forth for 7 years, from 18 until 25 years old. I never did the 9 to 5 thing. I've never even had a part-time job. The closest thing to a part-time job has been me going into a studio and demoing or doing backgrounds for somebody and making a couple $100, and but so there have been moments in my life because I haven't had that quote unquote security, which isn't actually a really positive thing when you think about what people are giving up and sacrificing for quote unquote security, especially considering all these things can be taken away from you, your house, your car. So they're not really yours when you think about it. I had a few moments where I would see the friends around me, I would see the people around me, and all of these people would be doing the 9 to 5 wage slave thing. They'd be getting a check once a week or once every 2 weeks, where mine was a lot more sparse. It was fewer and far between. And, I would go in and demo a song and make $300, and then there might be nothing for a week or 2 weeks or whatever else. And when I was in LA, it was a lot more frequent, obviously. It was at least once or twice a week that I was doing stuff, and sometimes it was a lot more. But coming back here, I wasn't doing any of that stuff. I wasn't demoing stuff while I was here. This is during the times when I was going to LA. So from the ages of 18 to 25, I mostly was not doing demos here and everything and music for profit, So it was just when I was in Los Angeles. So I would see this, and that would make me start to question who I am as a person. Do you see how messed up that is? I'm questioning who I am as a person because I don't make as much money as the people around me. Do you see how messed up that is? Please tell me you see how messed up that is, because that's really messed up. That we base our worthiness upon little pieces of paper that have absolutely no value except for the value with which we say it has. You know what I mean? Money would not work if the rest of us, if the mainstream populace, those who the global elite view as sheep and as fodder, for war and fodder for chemtrails and fodder for their experiments with quote unquote medicine, money would not have any value, and it doesn't. Money wouldn't have any say in how we run things if we hadn't bought into it in the first place. So then again, we come to the whole point. One of the main points for me doing this show to begin with is that we are inherently responsible for absolutely everything that has been created and is being created around us right now. So while once in a while I may throw a little focus into the global elite or the Illuminati or the Freemasons or religion and the negative aspects of religion and politics and the school system, and oh my God, the laundry list is long, my friends, of all the nefarious things that have been going on for thousands of years. It really is deplorable and amazingly heinous. And heinous is it's just such a lame word, compared to what it is they've actually been doing to us. But we have been letting it happen. We are part of the problem. And this goes back into the law of attraction. This goes back into the Ho'oponopono method. And if you haven't heard the second episode that I did, Ho'oponopono and the law of attraction, very aptly named, go check it out because I talk about it quite a bit in there. And, let's get back to what I was saying, that we are these incredible beings of light, but we've been told constantly over and over